Welcome to the Virtual Coffee Lab. Today we're going to be doing another brew method that we haven't done yet here at the lab, and that's the Kalita pour over. We've done the clever dripper as well as the French press, and so we're going to do the Kalita 185. We'll do it on a stainless steel, even though I also have the glass here to show you, and we'll talk about the differences. So stick around and let's get brewing. Okay, so there are so many different brew methods that are out there, and it really boils down to personal preference. I had mentioned in my video on the clever dripper that it's my favorite pour over. And one of the reasons it's my favorite is because it's kind of dummy proof. It's really easy to do. It doesn't take a whole lot of attention once you get it set up. The Kalita takes a little bit more of timing, but it's not difficult. There are some things that are important to do and to know before you begin. One is you need to have good, fresh, clean water. I use filtered water out of something like a Brita. You also want to have a good burr grinder. You're going to want to have a good scale. The scale needs to be able to do a couple things. It's conveniently, all-in-one would be to have a timer as well as be able to weigh in grams or different units. You'll want to be able to set this to 0 once you put your cup on here or when you measure your beans out. So you want a decent scale. I've got all of these items listed as links in the description if you're interested in checking them out, and you can go ahead and do that. The bottom is flat, and it is cone shaped, funnel shaped. But other than that, there are some differences. The hole sizes are different. And there's also a little bit of a raised section in the center on the stainless steel, which you'll notice, as long as some ribbing that is in the stainless steel Kalita 185. There are Kalita 155s out there, and the difference between the two is size. So a 155 is going to be able to brew you enough coffee for maybe 1 or 2 people to share, and this larger Kalita is going to hold more coffee, and you could share it with as many as 3 or even 4 people. There's one thing that I've noticed as I brew with this Kalita. Both of these have a flat bottom, and the filter is also a flat bottom. And so when we add water to this filter gets a little soft and it gets a little saggy, and it will kind of lay over the holes. And so actually the stainless steel has included a little ribbed section here in the middle to kind of elevate the filter to keep it from covering the holes, I guess. But it doesn't really seem to work that well. So what I've done is I've made a stainless steel little mesh circle that I would lay inside here to keep that filter from sagging and closing over the hole. Okay, I've pre-measured 25 grams of whole bean coffee. We're going to be using 350 grams of water, and we'll see all this happen on the scale. I'm going to be using the George Howell method for brewing. And just like the George Howell method I learned by reading online, I put a link in the description to the recipe or the brew method recipe so you can see that. But there's a lot of different enthusiasts and experts out there that are doing different little hacks or different things to make coffee brewing or coffee roasting in better. So this isn't something that I just made up. So the George Howell method is a great method that I like to use, and basically what we're going to be doing is adding 65 grams of water at a time onto the coffee, and you'll see me do that. And our brew time should be around 3.5 minutes. Okay, so for this brew method, we're going to use the stainless steel. I just did want to show you the glass here. There's people that talk about the differences between the two, whether the ribbing makes a difference or not, and also the material. Some believe that the stainless steel, the heat escapes quicker. Some say, no, that's not true. It's the other way around. It's the glass. But anyhow, I've been using the stainless steel, and I've been really happy with it. I've used both, and they both brew good coffee. So what we're going to do is just pour water into the center of the filter just to get it to settle down into the bottom of the Kalita. And then as we add the water, we're just going to circle around the outer edge of the filter to let the filter get wet, get the paper taste out of it, and let this hot water go down into the mug to warm our mug. And while that's going on, I'm going to go ahead and grind this coffee. This is an Ethiopian coffee that I roasted a couple nights ago, and we'll be grinding that on a medium fine grind. All right, I've got my kettle warmed up to 204 degrees. I've got my water drained out of the mug. My mug is warm and ready to go. I've ground my coffee. I've got it here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on the scale. It's going to set to 0. I'm going to put my coffee in there that I've already weighed out. Get that level, and I'm going to tare my scale so it's set to 0. So you're going to want to have your water ready to go as you touch the timer, and then you're going to spend 15 seconds pouring your first increment of water. So 65 grams for 15 seconds. Then you're going to stop, let the coffee rest, or let the water rest, and then at the 30-second mark, you're going to start the next cycle. So we'll go ahead and do that, and you can watch. All right, we're going to go ahead and start the timer, and then slowly add our water, about 65 grams of water for 30 seconds. So I just about made it to 15 seconds when I did this. I'm going to have to turn the camera a little sideways while I'm pouring here. Sorry about that. So we're going to go to 130 next. And you'll notice that I'm starting in the center. Oops, I just went over a little bit. I start in the center and then I slowly swirl outward. And that's the technique that they use. You want to make sure all the grounds are getting wet. And then we'll go ahead and start the next. We're at the 1 minute mark. So we're going to go to 200. There's 200, and I did that. It took 12 seconds, 13 seconds. So you'll see I'm not just pouring a bunch of water in here all at one time. And the water is draining pretty good. Look at the timer, I got 3 more seconds. And I'm going to go to 265. Here we go. And I do a big swirl around the outer edge. It's okay if you go over a little bit. So we're at 272. I'm going to get up to about 330. I'll stop there at 320. It's okay. It's not a perfect science. I mean, if you want to be picky, I mean, you can try to do that. That's fine. All right, then we're going to take this up to 350, and then we're done. All right, 355. That's okay. You'll notice that the water's still draining, and we've got almost 3 minutes on the timer, and this is probably going to get done around 320 when it's completely done, so maybe a little bit ahead of the 330 mark. I probably could have gone a little bit slower on my pouring. I was trying to do 2 things at once here with the filming and the brewing. So even though the grounds look like they're done here and dried, they're still dripping down through the bottom. And we're at 323, 324. So I'm going to go ahead and dump this. I just threw the grounds away, and it's important not just to dump the whole thing into the garbage because you'll lose this screen. So you don't want to do that. The cleanup's really simple. You just take the hot water that's left in your kettle, go ahead and rinse out the Kalita. I do the inside first and then pour that out, and then I turn it on its side, and I also rinse the outside and then the underside. That way I don't have to throw it in the dishwasher every time. The hot water is going to get it cleaned out. As long as you do it right away after you brew, you don't really have to throw this in the dishwasher much at all. Okay, and that's it with the Kalita. It's not that difficult, and you'll have your own method. I just started with the method that I've seen online, the George Howell method, and it works well for me. It gives me a great cup of coffee, and I think that this is probably, if you want to experiment with brew methods and you want to get really fancy and have some different meads, different techniques that you want to throw in, whether it's the timing, or how you swirl the water, all of that, that's all personal preference, and have fun with it. One thing that I forgot to mention that is important is that this brew method is a percolator method. It's not a steeping or an immersion method. That means that there is a little bit of finesse. It is important that you continually keep the grounds, water flowing over the grounds. That's one of the benefits of using the percolation method is that you can control how that is done, whether it's swirling it and creating agitation in the water, or whether it's just pouring it over the top, and then however you want to do it. You'll find out that different techniques will enhance or alter maybe some of the nuances in the coffee as you've brewed this. So you definitely want to try to get a comfortable technique that works well for you, but you don't want to let the grounds dry out and sit and then pour more water over that. You want to constantly have water on the grounds. And that's one of the reasons why people just go with the Clever Dripper or the French press, because the water is, the grounds are immersed in the water and it's steeping kind of like tea is, and then when it's ready to go, you either set the Clever Dripper on the mug or you press the plunger on the French press and you're good. This takes a little more attention, but once you get the hang of it, it'll be just fine. You'll have a great cup of coffee. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you liked this video. If you did like what you see, hit the like button. That tells YouTube something great is going on here. Subscribe to this channel, that helps me out, and most importantly, hit the notification bell, and that way when I upload new videos, you'll be the first to know. Well, thanks so much for joining me again here. Have a great day. We'll see you next week in the lab.